What's up, everybody? Let's talk about God of War Ragnarok. But before we do that, let's address the little Photoshop that's been making its rounds. So my editor tells me, well, not so much my editor, my guy that occasionally does my thumbnails, he tells me that the person that Photoshopped that picture, he doesn't think that they used like a Kratos Photoshop. He thinks they just aged me. So if that's the case, that means the older I get, the more like Kratos I'm going to get. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So before we get started with the video, let me get into character. Cue in the God of War music. Dun, 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 dun. Knockoff Kratos is here. Shit took like 5 minutes. Want to hear something crazy? If you look closely, that was fake hair. Don't believe me? Look again. Let's get into the review. I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as I can. Now, there's going to be minimal spoilers. There has to be. Okay? So, if you're scared of spoilers, don't watch the video. Come back after you beat the game. I beat the game. I beat it on Give Me Balance. That is the normal difficulty. Do you remember the video I made? God of War made me doubt my abilities as a gamer. Not this time. This time, normal mode was relatively easy throughout most of the game. About 3/4 of the way in, and some of the side missions there's definitely a difficulty spike, but it's more than manageable. 3/4 of the way through, matter of fact, toward the end, and you see this in the previews, you fight 2 Valkyries at the same time. Both those Valkyries on normal difficulty were easier than the first Valkyrie the first time I played God of War in 2018. Now, it could be that my skills are vastly improved, you know what I mean? But I doubt it. You know, maybe I got the formula down because I did beat God of War 2018 two times and almost a third time on PC. I'm like 3/4 of the way through on PC. So that's almost 3 times. So I got the formula down. Listen, I'm going to address the bad first, because for me, there was some really bad pacing issues. And the pacing issues come in the form of Atreus. You have to play as Atreus in this game. Now, I knew it was coming. Like, what? Come on, we all knew it was coming. You know how these developers do. You have to play as Atreus a few times. Not twice, not 3 times. I think it's 5 different times. And each time, for me, is an absolute drag. It really is. I couldn't stand it. I do not like Atreus. Toward the end of the game, his character does get better. You're like, you know what? Maybe the little shit ain't so bad. But that's mainly because Kratos is. I'm not going to spoil it for you. You'll understand what I mean. But when you're playing as him, it's so aggravating. And the second time you play as him, that shit took like 2 hours. Okay, now his gameplay is not bad. But I bought God of War to play as the God of War. I bought God of War to put on the boots of Kratos and axe chop people and use my blades of chaos. Not Atreus. Toward about 3/4 through, you get a new ability. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it is awesome. You get this ability to kill a few people. And you're like, let's go. You're Atreus again. I'm like, dude, you know, I'd really like to have a conversation with one of these developers right now. You know what I mean? This is getting super irritating. Toward the end of the game, the story ramps up. Everything gets like super good. And you really want to see what happens. You gotta play as Atreus again. I'm like, every time I had to play as Atreus, It broke the immersion, it broke the experience, and I had to turn the game off and take a break. Every time. I'm like, I'll come back to this shit later. What are they doing? His gameplay's not bad, it's just not satisfying. Like, he's almost more capable than Kratos. Like, I was shitting on enemies with no problem. And then going back as Kratos, fighting the same enemies, they're giving me a harder time as Kratos. I'm like, dude, what is this? You know what I mean? His attacks, they're fast, they're fluid, they're just not impactful. They're not satisfying. They don't sound good. They don't look good. Well, some of them look pretty slick. But Atreus does get a special ability, and I won't tell you what it is. You guys know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, uh-oh. Okay, this is pretty bad. His special ability is awesome. No doubt about it. I almost kind of want it for Kratos, but, you know, whatever. For me, that's the biggest issue of the game. Now, in the beginning of the game, toward the middle of the game, it's very linear. A lot of walking, a lot of puzzles, a lot of bullshit puzzles, dude. I can't take it. I hate puzzles. I hate them. I looked on YouTube for like 3 of them. In the chests, don't get me started on the chests. You know where you gotta bang the little things out or light some torches to get the chest off. I just started leaving them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking around, I'm like, can I just kill people with this insane, crazy good combat? Let's get into the combat. The combat is as fluid as ever. The way you can chain attacks and everything like that, you can chuck a dude in the air, throw your blades of chaos into him, send a fireball down, torch him up, keep him in the air. There's so many different combinations you can do. Switch to the axe, switch to your new ability, get all your little different abilities chained in. The combo system is phenomenal. You can parry. The parry system is so much easier than trash-ass Elden Ring. Okay, it's not trash, then hard-ass Elden Ring, okay? The parry ability in Elden Ring I almost feel like is useless. And I know the majority of you feel like that way too. It's too hard to master an Elden Ring. You know what I mean? Elden Ring, I'm literally... boss is like... if it just kill me. Whap! You know what I mean? In God of War, it's so much more sustainable. You can parry one after the other. Dude coming up from... That's another thing, man. I needed paddles for this game. I really needed paddles. There are little shit-eater enemies everywhere. Every time you fight a group of enemies, there's some little bastards in the background throwing shit into your back. Okay? I need to be able to turn without taking my thumb off the thumbstick to dodge every 2 seconds. I need the paddles to dodge while I'm turning. Where is my PlayStation 5 Elite controller, my PlayStation Edge? I need it yesterday. Voice acting, phenomenal. Brock and Sindri, I actually really, don't get me wrong, they were decent in the first game, but it's just like, you know, I could care less about them. In this game, I love them. I'm not just saying that. I love the elves. They are awesome. Freya, I love Freya. Freya is, what a wonderful, wonderful woman. I don't want to spoil anything with her character arc, but you will love Freya, man. I absolutely love Freya. I love Thor. Thor is a beast. I really wish we could have done, like, okay, you want me to play as let me play as Thor. Give me that hammer and let me slam people into the Stone Age. That hammer was awesome. And you know what? A lot of people are saying, oh, well, he's big and fat. This dude isn't just fat. This is a monster of a dude. You know what I mean? This guy looks more like a power lifter. Yeah, he had some titty action going on, but this was a monstrous, intimidating force of a man. And his character was super good. Odin's voice didn't fit him, but the voice actor was by no means bad. But as the story goes on, it's like, you know what? I see why they did that voice, because Odin's supposed to be sneaky and slimy. And it actually turned out to where I was like, you know what? I think they did. I think they picked the right voice for Odin. You know what I mean? For what they were trying to do with his character. Mimir. I love Mimir. And Kratos starts to connect with Mimir. And he calls him brother at one point. He's like, you couldn't have helped yourself, brother. Or something like that. I said, oh, Kratos. Kratos is starting to love Mimir. I like it. I really like the supporting characters, the supporting cast, the voice acting. The story drags a bit in some places, and they start to focus a little too much on Atreus, whom I can't stand, who I also think did the weakest as far as voice acting goes. Among these juggernauts that were the voice actors in this game, Atreus was by far the weakest. The weakest link. He was off. He didn't fit. His acting was borderline bad. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't up to par with the rest of the characters. They focused too much on Atreus, but toward the end, you guys are going to be happy. Focus more on Kratos. Now, Kratos, he's a lot softer in this game. And I kind of wanted to, like, dismiss it. Like, man, these devs, man, what are they doing to Kratos? But you know what? I'm 41 years old. That comes with age. That comes with having kids. Now, don't forget, Kratos had a daughter. What did he do? He killed her. He killed his own daughter. He was fooled into doing it, like, as you know, but it's like this was his second chance to be a father. So, of course, he's going to adore Atreus and soften up his heart. I give you an example. My kids have never seen me cry. They're 16 and 15. They've never seen me shed a tear, ever. When I got COVID really, really bad. And my daughter comes in, and she had stayed away from me for like a week. I told her she had to stay on the other side of the house. She comes in, I hear a little voice. She's like, Daddy, can I get a hug? I said, no, honey, I'm sick. And she says, I don't care if I get sick. I just want a hug. I teared up. Like, I almost tear up telling the story. You know what I mean? The love you have for your kids, man, it's indescribable. You would move heaven and earth for your little ones. Normal people, you know, the ones that don't give a shit about their kids. That's the worst kind of garbage in the world. What are we at? 12 minutes? Another example, she texted me one time and said she had a dream that I died. And I was at the workplace. I get the text, and she says, I don't know what I would do. I think I'd die without you. Man, tears, man. I had tears because my daughter's not very affectionate, especially with age. But like to hear that from her, you know, that it just melts your heart, man. It really does, and you want the best for them. Kratos drops a line in this game that I've said this to my son, and I was like, you know what, man, they got some good, solid lines in this game. Atreus asked Kratos if he'll be as good as him one day, and Kratos says, if you're not, I haven't done my job. I said, hey. That is the hallmark of being a parent. You want your children to be better than you. And if you don't, you got issues. You got real issues. Let's get back into the combat. Another thing I didn't like, the axe chop in 2018. You bring the axe up and you slam it down on the enemy. Well, in this one, you hit them and do a spin around and chuck them. I didn't like that. I still used it, don't get me wrong, but it just didn't have the same impact as that 2018. And I'm not having hardly any gameplay in this video because the footage looks so bad on the PlayStation 5 with the HDR. It just looks washed out. It's 1080p. Looks like shit again. I don't want to insult you with such footage. Graphics. Graphics are amazing. Does it look better in 2018? It's sharper, I think. I don't think it looks better necessarily. I think there's more detail. I think there's more stuff in the frame, like the backgrounds, the environments have more, I don't know, there's more shit in them. You know what I mean? And I do feel like it's a little bit sharper. I fired it up on the PC, running 120 FPS, 1440p. There's definitely a sharpness to Ragnarok that 2018 doesn't have. But graphically, it's not that much better, but it's still phenomenal. Like, to me, that's about as good as it gets. It doesn't need to look any better than that. Like I said, it's very linear in the beginning and toward the middle, but toward the end, especially when you get into some of the side missions, it really opens up. There's some huge, expansive environments. You see stuff that you saw in the first one, which I thought would bother me, but you know what? It doesn't. It's kind of cool to see that shit again. My biggest problem was the Atreus sections, man. The Atreus sections and the puzzles. I don't mind the walking. The characters are so captivating. I don't mind the walking and the talking. In fact, I'll sit on the boat and just listen to Mimir. You know what I mean? I love Mimir. I love Head. Stop talking, Head. But if I had to score the game, I'd give it a 9. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. You take Atreus, you take his bullshit playable sections out of this game. Tweak the puzzles a little bit. This is 10 out of 10, man. The boss battles can be a bit, especially after coming from Elden Ring. That's one good thing I will say about Elden Ring is the bosses are so threatening. They're such a force. If only your character were more powerful and you didn't have to go grind and level them up and this and that. God of War follows a very old formula. Like you hit a dude, you hit a boss, and then he falls. And then you chop away at him, and then he gets up and he goes back to doing his little attacks, and you take a little more power away, and then you know what I'm talking about. And it's just like, you know what I mean? I feel like we should step away from that. But I feel like it's easier than 2018. I could be wrong. It could just be that I'm, like I said, like I know the formula. But the combat is awesome. You got this map you can go to and just test out different types of enemies. You'll still take damage, but you don't die. Your screen doesn't turn red, and you can just practice to your heart's content. And no little bullshit enemies pop up hitting you in the back. There's enemies that make other enemies indestructible, so they're all attacking you, and you got to go and run and find this little freaking stick creature that's making them indestructible. So there's irritating elements to the combat because the combat's so damn good. You just want to focus on this group of enemies for the most part that are satisfying to kill. There's new executions. There's multiple executions for the same weapon. That's awesome. But gosh damn it, the ranged attacks are killing me. They're killing me. So irritating. But I think I covered everything. It's a 9 out of 10 game. I enjoyed most of it. I love looking at it. I like walking around. I love the characters. I love the voice acting. The story was great. It's not phenomenal, but it was great. Really wish we could have played as Thor. If there's some Thor DLC, I will not be mad. Sony Santa Monica. I don't regret spending $80 on this. I do it again. After beating the game, you can access the side missions still and play through the side missions, and you get a new companion. Not going to tell you who it is, but I can tell you it's way better than Atreus. I almost said it's way better than Kratos. Way better than Atreus. You know what I mean? Damn, I want to talk about so much different shit, but I just don't want to. I don't want to spoil it. We'll have to make another video where we can just talk. Didn't have my man in the video. He's not interested in God of War. What do we do with this? Is that everything? Yeah, I'm good with it. I'm pretty sure I covered everything. Hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry it's so long-winded. And I will holler at you later.